Shalom. All praises to the Heavenly Father, Apuku Yah. Praise be to the earthly mother, the Pachamama, and all of her earthly angels, the Kadeshue. Praise be to the Holy Spirit, the Kahe. In the name of Hamashiach, Motsah the land, unification to the nation. Alright guys, I got a special video for you guys. I've been promising you this interview with my bro Chief Atali for, about a week now. But we finally got it going tonight. And we got some special things to touch on tonight. So first, I'm going to ask the brother to introduce himself. So, how you feeling, bro?
Oh, I'm feeling good, feeling great, feeling lovely. How everybody doing? This Chief Atali of the Eastern Yuchi Creek tribe, Eastern Yuchi Creek. And we also are branched with Yuchi, with the Kusos, with the Kuso Muskogee, which is my mother tribe. So we merged, and we are Yuchi Kuso Muskogee. So that's what we're going off.
Hey, again, thank you for stopping by. There's definitely been a huge blessing for me, and I think it's going to be a huge blessing for pretty much everybody. Now, right now on my screen, I'm opening up some tabs that accidentally closed out earlier. So don't mind this. I'm just going to ask the brother some questions while I'm trying to get set up. So, tell us a little bit about your journey as well. Like, I know you just introduced your tribe, but tell us a little bit about your journey and your background into how you got into all this. Not too long,
Well,
just a little bit,
well, okay, like I got into it basically by the Most High God. That's how I got into it. The Most High God, He guided me to basically give me the wisdom, the knowledge, the understanding to basically repatriate our tribe and to basically to do what we need to do. We are 24-hour government. We running. We still trying to basically still push, and we basically are just basically a government, man. That's all I really could say on that topic of basically what's my journey is. That's the journey I'm going. But my journey I come from is I'm from Florida and live in South Carolina. That's really it on that subject. I can't really touch too much.
Hey, that's all we need, bro.
Okay.
If you how did the Most High reveal to you what your tribe was? And I'm talking about like which of the 12 tribes of Israel you think you come from? Like, how'd that come up? How'd that come to be, bro?
Well, since I was a little boy, well, when I was a little boy, I had a dream about a lion. A lion was chasing me, long story short, or whatever. I never knew what that lion mean. So, boom, when I got grown enough or whatever, we was doing some research or whatever, and my mother told me we are Israelites or whatever in 2016. She told us we Israelites or whatever like that. I'm like, whatever, Mom. I don't know what she's talking about. I was a Christian still at the time, but she was trying to inform us of whatever. So I started digging into it. Come to find out, she was right. And my tribe, I started digging into my tribe because I started trying to find out where I'm from. They were saying we from Africa, so I was trying to be nosy and figure out, all right, what part of Africa. But then I found out we came from here, so from America, North America. So my tribe, which is the Uchis, the Yuchi tribe, we are a Shawnee tribe, and the Shawnee tribe is was it was the Back Creek stone was found in Shawnee territory, and on this Back Creek stone, they got it in the museum now. Y'all can go and look it up. On this Back Creek stone, it say for the end border of Judah or for the Judea or Judean. It says Judah on it. So that's another connector to my lands and where we're from.
And where'd you say it
And
was located again?
it was located on the east side of Tennessee.
Okay.
And the other thing, when I mentioned the lion, when I had that dream when I was a lion, Well, a lion was chasing me in Florida when I was a little boy. I had another dream when I was about, I think I was 30 or 28, something like that. I was locked up three years ago, or whatever, like that, about three years ago, something like that. And I had another dream about a lion. And now, mind you, when I first had that dream when I was 8 about them lions, nigga, excuse me, y'all. I did not know. I did not trust anything. That having a dream about the lion, I never knew what it really meant. So I stayed on my toes. I stayed throughout my whole life. I ain't know if it was somebody coming to attack me. I truly ain't know what it means, but I knew it meant something because I never ever forgot it. Never ever forgot it. So, boom, when I was locked up or whatever, I had a dream about saber-toothed lions coming in. And long story short, I don't want to be too long, but it was a bunch of saber-toothed lions running around, and I hopped on the back of the truck, and then I waited for the coast to get clear. Then when the coast got clear, I ran in the building. This building that I ran in, it was looked like a bus station or something like that. A bunch of people was in there. But long story short, I busted in there and I told the security guard, hey, close that door, close that door. He was on the other side of the building. So when I told him to close that door, he closed the door, but as he closing the door, the lions busting. And when the lions busting, these saber-toothed lions, like these longest, like these look like probably 2 or 3 cars to me, like Jeeps, big Jeeps, like SUVs. Like these things were like real big and they was fast. So I turned, looked to the right, and then I seen the staircase. I was gonna take a break for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I turn and look to the right and look at the staircase, I turn back left and look at the lions. The lions was right in front of me. Like, soon as I turned back to see my coast was clear, the lions just appeared in front of me, like out the blue. Like, it seemed like ain't no way they could have walked to me because they was on the other side of the room. So at that point, I'm freaked out now. So boom, the first lion walked up towards me, and I closed my eyes and I just went to praying immediately. And I remember this lion dream and the one when I was 8. I remember these like yesterday. When I closed my eyes and went to praying. And as I'm praying, I said, thank you, Most High God, for these beasts. I thank you for these beasts. I praise you for these wild beasts. May these wild beasts praise you. May these wild beasts serve you. May these wild beasts bless you. And as I'm saying that prayer, I hear the lion behind me, like, I could hear it, like, you could hear him chanting. He just could hear him, like, kind of breathing, like, So I'm like, boy, I'm about to get eaten. I'll be good in a minute. So, boom, I open up my eyes. I followed the prayer with Abba's Father prayer. I say, Abba's Father who are in heaven, whatever, right? So as I'm saying Abba's Father's prayer, I could hear everybody in the background say the same thing. They start saying the same thing, like start chanting the prayer in the background. So as they're saying the prayer and chanting it in the background, 1 second, bro.
No problem.
Yeah, so as they were chanting it and saying the prayer, I basically we ended the prayer and I opened my eyes, and when I opened my eyes, I seen the lion still in front of me. So when I open my eyes, I see the lion. I'm like, oh man, I ain't get eaten yet. So I'm thinking like, what's going on? So the first lion, pulled out his paw and started pulling me. He started pulling me. I walked with him like three or 4 steps or something like that, 2 or 3 steps, something in between there. I'll say about three steps or something like that. And I was like, no, I can't go with you. I can't go with you. I told him I can't go with you. And then he let me go, and then he hopped out the back window. I'm thinking he about to take me for some lunch and eat me, you know what I mean? But he didn't. He didn't. He hopped out the back door. And when he hopped out the back door, the second one came, laid on his back, and act like a dog. Like he had his tongue out his mouth, and he had act like a dog. Like, so everybody started laughing. Everybody in the crowd, in the room, in the bus terminal, wherever I was at, started laughing. And so boom, he got up and he ran and jumped out the back window, well, out the back door. And when he jumped out the back door, the third one came and just looked at me. And he just looked at me. I'm like, what? And then he hopped out the back door, and then he hopped out the back door. Then I closed the door. As soon as they hopped out the back door, because there was some saber-tooth tigers, bro. Like they was big, bro. Like, bro, ain't no explanation. You thinking about you seen them huge behind dogs? Them dogs not even as huge as this. Like, this was like, bro. It was like probably like how I say, like 3 or 4 car lengths of SUVs, and probably the size of like a little bit smaller than the Mack truck. They was like that. Like them things big, bro. So when they hopped out the back door, I just looked at them, and I looked at them through the back door, and then my mother was in the dream. My mother and my sister. My mother said, "Oh, praise the Most High! Thank you, praise the Most High." And then my sister said, "Why didn't you record it, Junior?" And I'm like, "B, how I'm gonna record it when I'm about to get eaten by some lions?" And then she started laughing, and that when the dream went off. So that right there, I did some studies on that dream, and that dream led me to what I'm doing. It let me know I am Judah. So that answers your question about how you know you Judah. That's how I know I'm Judah spiritually, and I know I'm Judah physically by my tribe.
There you go. Thank you for sharing, bro. That was really, really, really cool.
Appreciate it.
So, my next question is, what is the definition of your tribe names? You mentioned something regarding the Kuso, and the Muskogee.
Yes, the Kuso Muskogee. That's my mother tribe. I told you, I just told you about the Shawnee, so we're gonna switch over to Muskogee, which is Muskogee Kuso. Okay, Muskogee is the Muskogee Indians. Like, we became a tribe, but before, we already a tribe, but we became before we were Muskogees, we were Kusos.
Mm-hmm.
So we came from Peru, and Cusco means
The center.
the center of the earth, right? Which is Peru, and that's where our tribe migrated from, which is Peru. From my studies, we migrated from Peru, South America. And then the Muskogee part comes from Moses, which he led us over here. And that was the Muskogee, the people of Moses. That's what Muskogee means.
Wow.
Yes.
I guess my next question would be, we were speaking on, or we were speaking about an act that Trump passed, right? And it was something about reclassifying colored as American Indian. Can you speak more on that?
Yes. The act to reclassify colors as American Indians, that's the Thomasina Jordan Act, and that's the act that I'm under. That's how I was allowed to basically get my rights back and get our tribe tribal rights back, get the family tribal rights back. That's how we was able to get started. Trump passed that in 2017, and when he passed it, it's basically the whole act is to basically what it does is you must act right now on reclassifying yourself, and that's reclassifying yourself as American Indian, not as black, not as African American, because those don't have no standards.
Whoa, can you
So
say that one more time? Maybe maybe they didn't hear it. I'm not trying to be patronizing. I'm dead serious.
okay,
Repetition is how we learn. So please, can you say that one more time? Not the whole thing, just the reclassification part.
okay, the act of to reclassify colors as American Indians. That's what we have acted on. When they put out an act, that's what we must do. Act on it. Not just sit there and read it. So we acted on our rights. So we all must take this act and reclassify. Because right now you don't have any rights until you reclassify. So once you reclassify yourselves in the proper manner, you can get your rights back. But as you continue to be African American, you would never, ever have any rights. You may have a lot of money, but you won't ever have rights. Just no way, no way.
What if you're classified as like, under white or Latino? Would you have rights in that regard?
If you're reclassified in white or
If you're
Latino,
currently classified as that, because not all my viewers are, classified under
well,
under
with that,
those terms.
that act was only for Negroes, for colors.
Well, what
So
if these people are actually of Indian ancestry? Would that apply to them as well?
see this act, this act was only applying to the basically the East Coast, because the whole East Coast. This is the Thomasina Jordan Act of Virginia. This whole East Coast used to be called Virginia, so that act was applied to the East Coast. You see what I mean? Because they know this East Coast was Indians in this East Coast. So I can't speak on for the Latinos as far as in so much manner. But unless those because the Latinos went under a different oppression. So I'm pretty sure it's a little bit different for them.
Right. Listen, this guy knows his stuff. I asked him a tough question there. He knows his stuff. Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
bro. Thank you. Um, so listen, man, if you guys want to know more, I'll leave his website in the description, or you can say it real quick. Actually, I'll still leave it in the description, but you can say it real quick.
um, what it is, uchikusomuskogi.org. I don't even know it off the top, man. I have
Don't
so
worry,
much
bro.
going on.
I'll put it in the comment section.
We have a lot going. And basically what we doing, man, we trying to basically if any Uchi Kusos out there, any Uchis, any Kusos, hit the line, man. That's what we doing. We're basically getting our rights back, man. And even down to if you're not even if you stand for the Most High God also, and you want to get out of Babylon, you can hit our line also on that end too. Because that's what we stand for, righteousness. We're not so much on basically if you are a bloodline member, but we still have our categories of that. You will be, if you're not a bloodline member, you will be a citizen of the tribe instead of a bloodline member.
So that means that you can give people citizenship who are not blood related, or at least can't prove that they're blood related, uh, to anyone who's on the East Coast of North America. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Does that include other countries?
Yes, 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 yeah. Because we're international. Like my driver's license is international. Like I got international
Yo, turn that down,
insurance
please.
from State Farm, so I could literally go over there and drive, and with my same insurance. Like you know how when you
Thank you.
get insurance, they say, "Well, where you gonna be driving?" I'm gonna be driving everywhere. I'm international, so yes, like we're international law versus under South Carolina, or we're not immune to just a state. You know what I mean? But we do have our guidelines and things of that nature. But I know for North and South America, these are our homelands. I don't know about. I know our people went to the other continents and things of that nature. So, but I know our law do stand internationally, though.
Wow. So, if someone is from some random Pacific island and you vetted them and thought that they would be a good fit for your tribe, you can literally give them citizenship to the Americas. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, yes, because my tribe is from the Americas. So if I put you in my tribe, shit, where you from?
Do you guys hear this? Do you guys hear this? This is amazing stuff that the Most High is doing in these last days. So I hope that you guys are rejoicing with this sort of information. Now, to switch gears, I wanted to ask you a little bit about the racial climate in South Carolina because you do live in South Carolina. So I wanted to
Right.
start off our conversation because we got a lot to discuss. So, what is the racial climate in South Carolina to you? Because you were telling me about how certain groups of people they have certain labels on their houses, on their land. So, can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Right. Okay. Those like certain lands and certain peoples, like uh, you have heirs property, and you have black people who stay on these heirs property, and they have a certain color sign on each of their properties, telling you that it's preserved land or it's this certain kind of land or whatever. It's a blue sign. And all the other signs are green, like the regular public roads, whatever, they're green or whatever. But the ones in the hood is the same color as the ones like in the out, like in the suburb little area part. And so the black people in the hood got it, and then the white people in the hood got it. So I'm like, man, what the hell going on here? Like, you know what I mean? I thought the black people in the hood supposed to, like, you know what I mean? Like, I seen a connection there. I'm like, okay, why is it he has this sign and they have the same sign? It's just a correlation of the colors. It's blue. And when I look it up, that's like preserved land. That's like preserved type, like some kind of in a trust account, secretive type thing.
So, if I could make an analogy, let's say that the star represented that you come from some sort of uh, wealthy lineage, and you see it on the quote unquote white people's land often, but then you also start to see it in the hood and black people and on their land as well. Is that what it's akin to?
Right, right. Yes. Got black people who got it, and then you got white people who got it.
And and your family does not have it.
Hell no, I wish we had it on the low, man.
On the low.
Man, come on, man. You know, but we own all of it, not just that one little piece, though. So, like, no, I don't wish that we had it, because I
Right.
know we do for a lot more.
Exactly. Um. So, are all? Do you believe that all of the Native American tribes in South Carolina are related?
No,
And why do you say that?
because you have, like, boom, for instance, how I was explaining to you about you have another tribe right next door to us, which is the Yamasee Indians. The Yamasee Indians. They're indigenous to the Americas, and what's making them indigenous is because it's like a long time ago they one of the descendants never went to the proper landmass, so they are indigenous to these lands, but we are not related to them. They are from the seed of Ham, and those are the ones who never left a long time ago. In my studies, that's what I'm coming up with, and I
Wow.
could be wrong. I could be wrong, but
Wow.
they don't want.
One more time.
Yeah,
Who are they the seed of?
the seed of Ham.
Oh. Now I have some stuff open here. You can't see it, but I pretty much have it open. And it's regarding the Yamasee. Hold on, I actually have to pull it up real quick. It's called the Guale. Now, how do you say that?
It's Gual, but you pronounce it Gullah. So it's spelled Guale. Some you will see it like that. Then you'll see Gual, but both of them you will pronounce it Gullah.
So it's because I'm trying to figure out how would you pronounce Guale as Gullah. So it's like Gule or Gule, something
Right,
like that,
that's
right?
right, right. But it means the same exact thing as Gullah and Guale. It's the same thing. Even down, if you hear the word, it's called Wally. Whooly. That's the same damn thing. It's just, it even sounds like it. You can look it up. Don't,
Right.
and everybody, don't take none of my word.
Look
Do
up
not take Chief
everything.
Atali word. Go and look it up.
Thank
Go
you
and
for
look
that,
it
bro.
up. Don't take my word. I am not no scholar. I ain't go to school for nothing. I just got wisdom from the Most High God. So don't take my word for it. Go and look it up.
Khan. Now
Con.
I'm gonna read something regarding the Gullah or the Guale, right? The Guale was a historic Native American chiefdom of Mississippian culture peoples located along the coast of present-day Georgia and the Sea Islands. Spanish Florida established its Roman Catholic missionary system in the chiefdom in the late 16th century. So, there was a lot in those two sentences. For starters, they're regarded as chiefdom. And what does that word mean to you, Chief Atali?
I mean, the chiefdom they had. It was like a chief city. That was like where the city. That was like the like a mound, like a huge mound.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically where they settled at, and that's where they basically congregated. So that's like they little city, and as you read that, and I know their origin, it sounds as though the ones that came over here, because I read in the Bible that Moab settled. He came from over the like the ones that predates the Gullah, because you got Yamasee, you got the Guale, right? Those are they say the Yamasee comes from Guale.
Exact. Yep. I have that here. Go ahead though.
Yeah. So the I feel I think the ones from, because it's like two different kind of peoples also. I also believe the ones that came from it's a group that came from France. That's after they got their little deal. They came from France and Spain, and then the one that predates the ones before that, they came from the West, the land of Canaan, which is would be the west of America. They came from over there, and they settled when they came from the west side, the Transjordan over here. They settled on the west banks. No,
The
they
East.
settled on the south coastal plains.
Okay.
And when you look up the south coastal plains, that'll tell you that's like on the edges of the water, and that's down to Florida, on down to the edges. So I'll say from Louisiana all around Florida and down to, well, Louisiana, going through Florida, end up by Jacksonville, and come up to like Carolina coast.
And that strangely correlates with where the Gullah Geechee people are located today. Isn't that strange?
Yes, yes. But like I say, it's a group that predates them. And like how you say with the chiefdom, those are the ones who came and settled, the Moabites who came and settled here when they came from the west. Because the Bible clearly tells you that they came and settled in the lands of in the south, in the southern coastal plains.
There you go. Now, the definition that I have of chiefdom, this is Wikipedia's definition, but it says a chiefdom is a form of hierarchical political organization in non industrial societies, usually based on kinship, in which formal leadership is monopolized by the legitimate senior members of select families or quote unquote houses. So, what these people seem to have did is they acted pretty much as overseers for many different tribes among the Mississippian tribes. They were, in essence,
Assimilators.
assimilators and slave masters, even pre-colonially, even pre-Columbian.
Damn, you think? Damn.
But so it says that.
That's what you pick up from it?
Well, that's what it says right here.
Ooh.
Um, Now it says that they were Native American chiefdom of Mississippian culture, peoples located along the coast of present-day Georgia and the Sea Islands, Spanish Florida. Spanish Florida established its Roman Catholic missionary system in the chiefdom in the late 16th century. During the late 17th century and early 18th century, the how do you say that again? Gula or Gule?
Gullah.
Well, that's how they say it, but
Oh, Guale.
Guale. Okay, the Guale society was shattered by intensive epidemics of new infectious diseases, and attacks by other tribes. Now, how does that resonate with you? Because they're pretty much trying to say that the Guale, they pretty much got decimated by these new diseases, and they pretty much got battered by other tribes. Do you know anything about that?
Well, I kind of do agree with it a little bit because it is in record of account that my tribe, which is the Westos, is a branch of Uchis. The Westos have we had them in we used to always basically capture them. We used to always try to run them down and capture them for some reason. And I apologize to the Gullah on that. You know what I mean? From the Eastern Uchi Creek tribe, but the past is the past. But that's what our tribe was doing to them. And when we used to try to run them down, they will run to the Catawba tribe as a safe haven. The Catawba tribe will save them.
Now let's look that up real quick. Ta tribe. And I believe that I spoke about this tribe before in a previous video, not too long ago. But I was very confused as to why they're known as the Esau people or the Esau Indians, the ESAW Indians. They're also known as the Isa or Issa or Iswa, right?
Right.
Now, I find it very bizarre that their language is pretty much it's in South and North Carolina, it's in this region. Um the fact that their religion is in part Mormonism is also very bizarre. Um and their language is the only is they're pretty much the only language speakers of their language in the whole area, in the surrounding area. So they're pretty much unlike most people or most of the other tribes in their area. They're very bizarre and unique people. And that doesn't account for the fact that they're called the Esau Indians. So the fact that they would run to these Esau Indians for a safe haven is kind of troubling to me. Now, it could mean nothing, but I just wanted to, to touch on that. Do you have anything to say on that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with the Catawba, it's weird that they are called Esau. I was looking into that also because, and it's just because they are Melungeon people. That's who the Catawba tribe are. They are Melungeons, and the Melungeons are Africa Indians, and you from Africa Indians, and
Europeans.
like yeah, European. And the thing also with that, the Melungeon part, that's what sticks to me with the Esau part.
Yep.
It really, I think that's a connection somewhere in the line.
Now that definitely makes sense, and this is why uh, I was questioning, not questioning, but I was pretty surprised at the fact that they're connected with Mormonism. That was pretty surprising to me, um, because usually Indians don't really resonate with Mormonism unless they're $5 Indians, right?
Right.
So that was a bit bizarre to me. But now I have the definition of Melungeon here, and I'm going to read it on Wikipedia. Melungeons is a term for numerous groups of people in the southeastern United States who descended from European and sub-Saharan African settlers. Historically, so wait, before I even I went right past that. It said sub-Saharan African settlers. It didn't say slaves. It said settlers,
Mm-hmm.
meaning they willingly came over here. Is that right?
Yes, yes. I want to say they came from Arcadia, bro, and they came from Canada.
Interesting. They came from Canada.
Yeah, yeah, Arcadia, something like that. They came from Canada, though.
So did they go to Canada first? Did the sub-Saharan
No,
Africans?
no. They came through Europe. I want to say. I think they say when a long time ago. A long time ago, they came to. They was living in Canada for a long time before they traveled to South Carolina. They traveled to South Carolina recently.
I see. So were they mixed up in Canada first and then they came here?
Yeah, they came as Melungeons.
I see. Okay. Very interesting. Okay. Let's continue. Historically, the Melungeons were associated with settlements in the Cumberland Gap area of central Appalachia, which includes portions of East Tennessee, Southwest Virginia, and eastern Kentucky. The triracial describes populations who claim to be of mixed European, African, and Native American ancestry, although there is no consensus on how many such groups exist. Um, the Melungeons have been defined and documented as having multi-racial ancestry. They did not exhibit characteristics that could be classified as those of a single racial phenotype. Most modern-day descendants of Appalachian families traditionally regarded as Melungeon are generally European American in appearance.
Mm-hmm. It
So they
is
look.
because they just look. It's like them white people who you see them Melungeons. They be having that black hair. You see them white people with that black hair. Most likely they Melungeon.
Wow. So, if you guys remember the video that I did on, so you really think you know what an Edomite is? If you guys remember that video I did a while ago, I showed you real lynching pictures. And the people that they were showing, these so called Caucasian people, didn't look as white as you think that they would look. In fact, they looked rather swarthy. They had dark skin and dark hair. They also had alkaline noses. Those were Melungeons.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that this brother said that he thinks that there is a connection with the Catawba and the Melungeons, and the Catawba were called the Esau Indians. This is also very troubling. And I'm about to show you what some of the surnames for Melungeons are in 1 second. It's continuing often with dark hair and dark eyes. See, just like the brother just said, and a swarthy or olive complexion. Depictions of Melungeons have varied widely over time. In the 19th and early 20th century, they were sometimes identified as Portuguese, Native American, or light skinned African American. During the 19th century, free people of color sometimes identified as Portuguese or Native American in order to avoid being classified as black uh, in the segregated slave societies. Other Melungeon individuals and families are accepted and identified as white, particularly since the mid 20th century. They have tended to quote unquote marry white since before the 20th century. Now, this is also very bizarre, but it's not all that bizarre. For all of my Latin viewers, do you guys know of the term of keeping the race pure or making the race better? And I forgot how it's said in Spanish, but this is some of the propaganda that was in Latin American culture. And I believe that it really does come from the adoption of quote unquote Melungeon uh, ways of thinking. These seem to have been assimilators, people who came here as settlers from Europe and Africa. And they wanted to stay on these lands and make a good life for themselves. So the best way they can do that is interbreeding with the people who are on top, which are the so-called white peoples. Now, before I continue, do you have anything to add on that, Brother Chief Atali?
Yeah, I also think I want to say that they got the connection with the Cherokee tribe. The Cherokees are also some assimilators. They are the hugest assimilators of all. I don't see them being born as a regular tribe. They're more like some people who came over here and made themselves a tribe. And their language is so close to Greek, like the Cherokee language.
Greek?
Yeah, it's so close to Greek language.
Now, isn't that funny? Because don't the Yamasee, don't they have to do with the Creek Indians?
Yeah, something big with the Creek, because they were saying that Creek means Greek or something like that. Something like that in that nature was saying something like that.
Okay. Now, also, just to add on to what you just said, I have this part because all I did was Control F Cherokee, right? That's all I did, and this is the same Wikipedia line, right? It says in 1894, the U.S. Department of the Interior, in its report of Indians taxed and not taxed, noted that Melungeons in Hawkins County, quote unquote, claimed to be Cherokee of mixed blood. So I don't know if you read this already. I don't know if you just did research, but what he just said is right here.
Yes, and that's on point. That's right on point.
The term Melungeon has sometimes been applied as a catch-all phrase for a number of groups of individuals with mixed race ancestry. You see that?
Mm.
Um, Let me see if there was anything else that I wanted to read on the Melungeons. There's just so much that we can read on them.
Yeah, that they are. Yeah, it's a lot. I want to say too. Also, they speak a Scion language or something like that. I might be rusty on that end, but their language that they're speaking is like a Scion, Scion language from Canada.
You mean a Sioux?
Yeah, it's something like that. So, but I know that they are not the indigenous peoples of Canada. So it makes me think that they settled there and that they gave them that language because they've been in Canada for a while, for years before they moved down south. I don't know what made them move down here, but They've been up there for years.
Wow, this stuff is insane. Um, there's one thing I wanted to look up before I kind of put the hammer on the Melungeon, uh, the hammer on the Melungeon conversation. What I mean by that is this is a really big drop here. Scholars and commentators do not agree on who should be included under the term Melungeon. Contemporary artists identify, contemporary artists, uh, it's hard, it's real dark in here. Identify differing list of surnames to be included as families associated with Melungeons. Hold on, let me turn on this light. The English surname Gibson and the Irish surname Collins appear frequently. These are Melungeon surnames. And now when you look at an actor like Mel Gibson, who has these really weird traits, now it makes sense.
See, but when you hit that Gibson and like names like that, it's more of like a Huguenot name, like because
Exactly.
it's, you see what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
that's a Huguenot name. So also the Melungeons, they have a little Huguenot in them too because that's where they come. They come from that region, really.
So you mean to tell me that the Melungeons are pretty much a branch of the Huguenots?
Yeah, they're a baby branch. You can't skip around it. Ain't no way you just read that they came from
Yep.
Ireland, and yeah.
English
So
and Ireland. Yep.
yeah.
And those are just
So
two surnames.
you can't skip around it. They just got a little bit of African in them. You know what I mean? But they all made that's ham too.
So
Ham and Jabbers mixed up.
Ham, Japheth, Edom, Moab.
And then they came over here, try to get a little native blood. They had to get Shem. They're like, come here, Shem. They like the vampires. Come here, let me get that blood.
Yo, check this out. You ever heard of Phil Collins? Everyone heard of
No.
Phil Collins. Oh, you know, you did?
Mm-mm.
Well, I only know that one song from him. But he's a person, another quote unquote white person with these kind of dark features, brown hair, right? His face is not is kind of wide. It's almost
Oh, when they got them wide faces and them black features, but they white,
yeah,
and
pretty
when they got
much.
that black hair, like
Just
look
brown
at
hair.
Elvis. I think Elvis Presley is one. I think Elvis is one too. I think he's a Melungeon. Yes, he is. Why he got so much groove and so much flavor for a white man? That man had some groove, like he really did, man. Even though he stole rock and roll, man, the man had some flavor. You know what I mean? Like he did, and that's that black side of that African side acting up in them. Ooh, yeah, coming out.
Oh my gosh, bro. Now Elvis truly does look like he has like a good amount of some sort of like black in him.
Mm-hmm.
But now we know where it comes from.
Yep.
This is the Psalms 83 crew, by the way, guys. If you don't know, this is Psalms 83, right? And I actually wanted to bring up a scripture real quick before we continue.
Okay. No problem with that. We Israelite gangbangers, man.
So we are in Jeremiah 25, verse 20. And all the mingled people, and all the kings of the land of Uz, and all the kings in the land of the Philistines, and Ashkelon, and Gaza, and Ekron, and the remnant of Ashdod, Edom, Moab, and the children of Ammon, and all the kings of Tyre, and all the kings of Zidon, and all the kings of the isles which are beyond the sea, Dedan, Tema, and Buz, and all that are in the utmost corners, and all the kings of Arabia, and all the kings of the mingled people that dwell in the desert, and all the kings of Zimri, and all the kings of Elam, and all the kings of the Medes, and all the kings of the north, far and near, one with another, and all the kingdoms of the world which are upon the face of the earth, and the king Shishak shall drink after them. Therefore thou shalt say unto them, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, Drink ye, and be drunken, and spew, and fall, and rise no more, because of the sword which I will send among you. And it shall be, if they refuse to take the cup at thine hand to drink, then shalt thou say unto them, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, Ye shall certainly drink. For lo, I will begin to bring evil on the city which is called by my name, and should ye be utterly unpunished, ye shall not be unpunished, for I will call for a sword upon all the inhabitants of the earth, saith the Lord of hosts. So there you go. This is let me actually let me move down a bit, because this is actually pretty important. A noise shall come to the even and the noise shall come even to the ends of the earth. For the Lord hath a controversy with the nations. He will plead with all flesh, and he will give them that are wicked to the sword, saith the Lord. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, Behold, evil shall go forth from nation to nation, and a great whirlwind shall be raised up from the coast of the earth. So this is what this is really talking about. This is talking about all the nations that were confederate against us, even back then.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the same people who stay within themselves, who mix within themselves, and who are confederate against us today.
Yep.
Anything to add
Yep.
on that, bro?
Yep. I want to add that that is so correct and that's so right. You when the Philistines came over here, they landed they Trans-Jordan. They came through the Western Interior Seaway over to Trans-Jordan, and then from my theory, then they landed on the in Florida. When they went on the coast, they went on the coastlines in the southern coastal plains, but they captured Florida. And and I say that they captured Florida, and they have a connection with the British also, because it's something about the British was the first ones, like way before the English, to capture anything. Like they've been over here, but they've been over here because they came from the other side. But the British from over there in England, they are working with. They are basically co-partners with the Philistines that was over here. I don't know if the Philistines is the British, but it seems as though that they could be. They could be. I don't know if anybody got any drop on that or what. And I'm only saying that because when you look up Emirate of Transjordan, the British protectors come up. Why the hell is British protectors coming up? And then I started reading into it, and it's pointing the finger at the British, like literally. But I know from what I read from when they first captured Florida. Florida been captured, even when the land when North and South America was India. Well, when South America was America and North America was Superior Asia, you still had Florida on there called La Florida.
That's true. That is true. I didn't even. Wow, that's so true.
Word. So it's
What does
like
Florida mean? I wonder.
I forgot what they say Florida mean. And that's my city too. I'm a Florida boy. Man, for real, man. I hope no Florida boys hear this, man. They'll jump me for this. I'm supposed to know what that means. Yeah.
All right. Let's. There's one last thing I want to read on the Melungeons, and then we can move on, and we can go back to the Yamasee.
Okay.
According to the principle partis sequitur venturum, which Virginia incorporated into law in 1662, children born in the colonies were assigned to the social status of their mother, regardless of their father's ancestry, ethnicity, or citizenship. So now this would make sense as to why they mass intermarried with the Indians, because this was
Right.
Virginia law. That
Right.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry on that.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Salakia, Salakia.
No, no problem, bro.
I was saying, but no, that is so correct because it was a big old thing. I forgot that goes into what you were talking about earlier. The Khazar,
Yeah,
CASS.
we'll get to that, bro. Don't worry. I'll
Yeah,
put it
it
on
was
screen for them.
okay, okay, but it ties into basically it was like it was a big thing, like it was a big old basically they get land. They could get an inheritance. The women could. The black women, they could get an inheritance from the like land. They could inherit white people land, not white people, but their white husband land. Only if they had married them, things like that. So, but they couldn't get that from no black man. You would just y'all have to figure it out. You like it's like it was some kind of law or something like that. But they basically married the white man married was trying to basically marry all of our women. So that's basically how they get assimilated into our tribes because they wanted to wipe out our generation also. But they wanted to not really so much wipe out our generation. It wasn't even on that. It was really on, they wanted to assimilate into our tribes, into our family. Because if they assimilate, then that means that they could get the land.
Exactly. Exactly. So to continue, uh, it said that this meant the children of enslaved African or African American women were born into slavery, but it also meant the children of free white or mulatto women, even if fathered by enslaved African men, were born free. The free descendants of such unions form the majority of ancestors and of the free families of color listed in the 1790s and 1810s U.S. Census. Early colonial Virginia was very much a melting pot of peoples, and before slavery, hardened as a racial caste. White and black working class people often lived and worked in close quarters and formed relationships and marriages. Some of these early multiracial families were ancestors of later Melungeons. Yet
Mm.
each family line must be traced separately. Over the generations, most individuals of the group, called Melungeons, were persons of mixed European and African descent, sometimes also with Native American ancestry, whose ancestors had been free in colonial Virginia. You have anything to add on to that?
No, bro. That is just, that's mind blowing right there. And I know it's on point, and that's just so correct. It just, even though I know what it is, I already know what it is. It just still blows your mind. You know what I mean? It just still blowing your mind. Like I know what it is, but it just still blows your mind. You know what I mean? And it
It
makes me
does.
think of when the European mix with the African, they come out like with white and straight black hair. But if when I see my people around here, like most African Americans, so called, when they mix, the kids come out. When they mix with a European, the kids come out like curly hair. It don't be like black. So that just made me think on another aspect too.
So, what type of Africans are they mixing in with then?
I don't know. I don't know, but I know that the gene is off because it made something else. It created like something else because most of them got dark black hair. But then if African American, so-called African American, if one of us indigenous ones from over here from North America, mixed with a white person, the baby come out with curly hair. It don't really look so swarthy and Melungeon looking. You see what I mean? That it don't look milk way.
Well,
Like,
that could be because of our male lineage as well. It,
yeah,
it could be
but
because of that.
that you just make me think on that one. That's how I know it's a gene. It's different. That gotta be that had to be Ham and that had to be Shem. Like it's too different of a breed. Because why Melungeon couldn't happen over here? You know what I mean?
Right.
You can't be. You're just gonna be something else.
That is true.
But I,
That is
yeah.
true. Now I have the Kasser, what you were just mentioning on the screen. So I'm gonna read because this connects back to the Yamasee. I said we are gonna get back to the Yamasee, but this pretty much is kind of the start or the early processes of where the Huguenots come into play.
Okay.
As you said, I believe that's what you told me before, but I'm gonna confirm with you because you know a lot more
You
about this than
say
I
you
do.
say with the Huguenots coming into play.
Like their early migrations here,
Oh
the
yes.
Kasser.
The Huguenots been early migration. The Huguenots been coming over here when they fled. It's a group of them. It was a small group of them came over here early. I'll say like in 14, like in the 1500s or something like
Right.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like way before. And then this was due to uh, the Huguenots came over here because they was running from Roman exile. They was running from not Roman exile. They was running from the Sephardic Jew. They were Sephardic Jews and they had to flee. So they was running from oppression. So they had to, because they were trying to basically, it was a religion battle going on. They was trying to make them fall under a religion battle or whatever like that. So they ran over here and they said, no, we don't want to be, I want to say it was Catholic or it was Catholic. I want to say that they wanted them to fall on them, but they didn't want to be, so created like little umbrellas, like so they came over here as Protestants and
Baptist, Methodist.
Baptist, Methodist, yeah. And the
Mm-hmm.
guy who created it, he correlated it to fit their doctrine. So they created that and they ran with that. It's like, nah, we this and something like
So
that.
I'm gonna we'll you know what, we'll touch on it later again because
Okay,
you said a lot, so we'll touch on it again later. Um,
okay.
but the Kasser, it's from the Portuguese uh casar, meaning to marry. This was the term applied to marriage alliances largely in West Africa, set up between European and African slave traders. The husband was European and the wife slash concubine was African. This was not marriage under Christian uh, auspices, although there might have been an African ceremony. An African ceremony. So they have an African twang to them. These Kassers, right? There were
Mm-hmm.
few clergies in equatorial Africa, and the wives could not marry since they had not been baptized. Male monogamy was not expected. As such, concubinage is a more accurate term. The multi Quaker slave trader and polygamist Zephaniah Kingsley purchased the Wolof princess Anna Kingsley, who had earlier been enslaved and sold in Cuba after being captured in modern day Senegal. Now, this is why I was talking about. I highlighted Mormons because Mormons, as well as I believe, I think do Quakers engage in polygamy as well or no? Do you know? What am I thinking of? Am I
I'm
thinking
not
of
sure.
Normans or Mormons? But either way,
I'm not sure.
I think well either way, Mormons they do engage in polygamy, and particularly they engage in polygamous relationships with our women. By the way, but this is what they're known for, right? These are the same group of people. Uh, these Melungeon mixed peoples, right? Who stay within themselves and took a lot of Indian women early on to solidify themselves on our land, right? To
Mm-hmm.
continue, Kasser created political and economic bonds. The name is European and reflects similar relationships of Portuguese men, who were the first explorers of the West African coast. But it inundated European contact, selling a daughter, if not for cash, then for some economic benefit, including simple peace, was a pre-European practice used to integrate the other from the differing African ethnic group. Powerful West African groups with ties to the slave trade used these marriages to strengthen their allies with European men by marrying off or selling their daughters. Early in the transatlantic slave trade, these marriages were common. They were common. The marriages were sometimes performed using African customs, which Europeans did not object to, seeing how important the connections were. African wives could receive money and schooling from the children they bore to European men. Now, are we talking about historical black colleges now?
Mm-hmm.
Wives could also inherit slaves and property from their husbands when they returned to Europe or died. Now, I must also note, because it did say European, it never actually even said white European. If you look at this again, it never said white European. It just said European.
Right.
And with African, it never said black African. There were white Africans in North Africa, were they not?
Right. It was.
So this can be either or.
Yeah, it could be, or it could be like a reverse
Or
style,
or
like
just or just straight up reversed. You're right.
yeah, like the Europeans, like because we know the Europeans was black, you know what I mean, and also about the Gullah. I think not that I think, from what I study, I believe, like from my knowledge, I believe I haven't seen no books or anything like that on it. Somebody need to write a book on it, but my knowledge could be off or wrong. But it's about the Gullah being Europeans, and I'm saying that because it's just so weird that France was called Guale. It was called Guale before it was called France. You know.
Now I
And
have a
then
translation here. Now that you say that, in fact, I didn't have it open, but translates Guale to French. Hold up. Now, in French, Gaule translates to Gaul in English. So Gaule translates to Gaul. Now
which means French.
Guale is what they called uh the people who were the
Gauls.
pretty
Gullahs.
the Gullahs
Yeah.
pretty much. Now literally it's just the A and the U in different places, but it's damn near the same thing.
And that's why I say I believe that they are the real French, because even the Gullah, they talk with their language is a Creole and it's a French. It's a Creole French. That's what it is. It
Mm-hmm.
comes from
And,
French.
and Creole is a mixture between Native American languages and French, or the native
Right,
languages in French, because
right,
Creole is
right,
everywhere.
right. And that's why I say I believe they. And then they always say they come from Africa, but the shit is just too off. I believe they got shipped to Africa um, from here after they got here. Like it's something. It's kind of weird. Like not after they got here, but I believe they was. It's something in the mix with either them or the Yamasee got shipped to Africa. It might be the Yamasee because the Yamasee basically was. That's what you see on the maps here.
Now, I have a question regarding that, because I believe I did say that I said in a few videos ago, maybe like five. I think I made that video 5 days ago. I talked about all skin folk and kinfolk, and I spoke on the Gullah, and I said I believe that those actually were shipped to West Africa, right? But now, after more study and hearing your perspective, I'm not too sure. I actually do think that they did come from Africa. I
See,
think
but this
I
is
don't, I
this
don't
is
think they came as slaves though.
right, right. But this is the thing: if they did come from Africa, they are still not Africans. Either which way you put it, because you got to remember the Sephardic Jews started fleeing. They was running for their lives. They ran and fled into Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just running from away from that. They were running over here. They was running from that persecution, that oppression. So when they ran into Africa, a lot of them that ran into Africa, a lot of them was France. They was from Europe and
Right.
from up there.
But I was making the connection between the kasser, because it did say that Europeans would engage in marriages with African women, and they would keep their African customs. Now, what do the Gullah have? African customs with French customs. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. But that sound, but see, but when you look at the Gullah too, the Gullah are very dark. That sounds like the Melungeon that mixed in with the Melungeons who mixed in the Europeans who mixed with another branch or something like that, because the Gullah are a little darker.
They are.
And the Melungeons is I think the Melungeons is what they said is European and African. And I think the Melungeons are really the true Africans.
Right.
But the Gullahs is the they're from France. But their connection to Africa is when they fled. Like they talk like this and they talk like that over there, boy. Like, yeah, my Gullah in the house, boy. Boy, I chop your head off, boy. Yeah, that Gullah talk, nigga. Like, I can't even do it, nigga. If you hit, nigga, you ain't even know what they be talking about over there and over there up the window. Like, for real, bro, that shit get deep. Like, for real, bro. They are a very, very unique, real unique type of people. Like, for
Now,
real.
the reason why, because you did say that you believe that the kasser, they had something to do with the early migrations of the Huguenots coming to the Americas, right? Now,
Yeah.
I just find it very bizarre that the Gullah, and we're gonna get into the Gullah in a bit, but the Gullah, they pretty much have inherited a lot of land on the coastal lands of the South Carolinas. Now, for you to own coastal land is incredible. The reason why I'm saying that is because almost none of our people are on the coastlines. The only people who are on the coastlines are people with money or people with prestige. And
Right.
for all people who come from like the islands, right? Do you know how hard it is to really get coastal land unless you may have brought it at a very early point?
Okay. And you're so correct with that. What I got to say on that, that's the deal with when the Huguenots came over here. That's why I say that the Gullah is from France and they the Sephardic Jews and they fled. Because when I read on
Mm-hmm.
Hardyville got settled by a guy named Gene Pewsburg, something like that. His last name was Pewsburg. But Pewsburg, he wrote a document to England, gathering up all the people over there, basically telling them, "Hey, I'll bring you to." This was an article in the newspaper saying, "I'll bring you to Carolina if you and it's the home of Eden. It says it's got beautiful trees, plenty land. Oh boy, they sweet this thing up. You hear me? Now, boom. He was saying that he made this shit sound real sweet. He told him he said, man, I'll give you 50 acres. I'll give you 50 acres, and all you have to do is work be a servant for 10 years, and then they had this shit broken down to the math of where it was talking about if you get sick, you don't get paid, but you still could keep your land or whatever like that. They're saying we ain't gonna tax y'all on no land. Y'all could keep you could keep the land. What else? They're saying they was looking for carpenters, goddamn shoemakers, tailors, all of the workers. You had to work if you came over here. That been a deal. And then you had to work the land for 10 years, and then they'll give you after 10 years, you could keep the land. That was what was in this article. And
Wow. Wow.
yes,
Let me interrupt
yes.
you real quick, bro.
Okay.
Because at the end of pretty much what we're gonna do here, I'm gonna share a video, and it's really gonna corroborate a lot of what we've been saying regarding the Gullah. So finish off what you were saying.
Okay. So yeah, when they where was I?
Oh, I'm deeply sorry. I shouldn't have interrupted.
Nah, you good, bro. I always do it. You already know how I rock, baby. Now we talk, man. But
Nah, we shouldn't
when they
interrupt.
when they came over here, when they came they assimilated into the
You said
tribes.
that they would work on the land for 10 years and they would get the
Yeah,
land. That was the last thing
boom.
you were saying.
Okay, yeah, they'll work on the land for 10 years, and they're saying that they could keep the land. Now that goes back to the 50 acres in the mule. Everybody was like, oh, they had their hand out looking for 50 acres in the mule. The Black Lives Matter. Everybody, where my 50 acres in my mule? But they don't understand that deal wasn't for all skin folk
Nope.
because we all ain't kinfolk. So that
Nope.
was for only for a group of people, which was the Huguenots that fled over here under oppression. That wasn't for the Indians because it even talks about when they fled over here. Well, no, when they fled over here, he said that it got buildings and landscape on this land. He said the Indians done ran off from the English war, so they not here. Beautiful land. And then inside of this article, it says, if anybody asks, how did all this get here? Just tell them, the beautiful land of Carolina. Evil. You hear me? That's evil. Boy, they been evil from the jump. Like, word talking about if anybody asks, just tell them, hey, what that sound? Don't that sound like an old hillbilly? Like, for real, just the good old land of Carolina. And y'all know y'all didn't even put them bricks together. We already had buildings here in Hardyville, bro. Like, literally. And Hardyville ain't even, man, this is crazy. Hardyville sits off by the Savannah River. Like, man, bro, that's serious.
Yeah,
That's serious.
that's a damn shame, bro.
Yeah.
I wanted to finish up touching on the Guale so we could transition into the Yamasee. So let me just read
Okay.
these few sentences real quick. Um, let me see where I wanted to go to. So last thing we were talking about, the epidemics of new and infectious diseases that pretty much wiped out a lot of the Guale, and says some of the surviving remnants migrated to the mission areas of Spanish Florida, while others remained near the Georgia coast. Joining with other survivors, they became known as the Yamasee, an ethnically mixed group that immigrated in the process of ethnogenesis. So, we're going to get into these quote unquote missions that they were doing in Spanish
Right.
Florida. Let's get into that. Let's go to the Yamasee. The Yamasee were a multi ethnic confederation of Native Americans who lived in the coastal region of present day northern coastal Georgia near the Savannah River and later in northeastern Florida. The Yamasee engaged in revolts and wars with other native groups and Europeans while still living in North America, specifically from Florida to North Carolina. The Yamasee, along with the Guale, are considered, from linguistic evidence by many scholars, to have been a Muskegon language people. And my brother here, he solidly
Yeah, I
disagrees
gotta
with that.
object.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah, I gotta object on that language. Like how we recently just spoke on that language. The Guale speak a Creole French language, and the Muskogee speak Muskogee. Muskogee is not nowhere near French language or Creole language. So that right there, if anyone have anything to speak on that, then bring it to the table. But until then, it stands as they're not a Muskogean language. You know what I mean? Like they
Mm-hmm.
might have tried to assimilate that into it, but to give it a breakdown, that's not Muskogean language. Now, Yamasee, I have to look into Yamasee, but that language might be because they predate Guale. You feel what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So they could have. That's you feel what I'm saying? Because like I said, the Yamasees is Egyptians. You feel? The
Right.
Egyptians, they were Nubians. So if they are Egyptians and Nubians, the Gullahs, they fled over here and mixed with them.
Right. That's funny that you say that. Because it just said that the Gual, uh, they experienced these infectious diseases and they migrated. So pretty much after, no, no. The timelines are actually a little bit off. Never mind. Never mind on that.
Well, I know when the Gual fled, they probably fled from over here because I know the disease was like was this is what made me think like they was new to the land because the disease was like from mosquitoes, but I know a lot of the white people died off from the mosquitoes, but it was like it was a rare reason why they was getting sick. You only get sick when you really don't know the lands like that. So I was looking into that also. I just can't put my finger on that one.
And the fact that they're on the coastlines is also a red flag, isn't it? Because usually, if you're dwelling on the coastlines, you don't really want to get inland because you don't know the land, and you don't come from the inland, if you know what I mean.
Right, right, right. They only stayed on the coast, only on the coast. And I know in St. Helena, it was a big old, it was a big old, a big, like it was a big destruction with the mosquitoes. Like they ran rapid over there in St. Helena, and they was giving people, I want to say malaria or something like that. They was giving them some disease, and they was dying off. So that, and then one story is that they killed off all the all the masters ran, and they let the Gullah keep that land because the masters couldn't take the This is the story, and that sounds just so fugazi. They ran because the land was so bad of mosquitoes, and they let the Gullah keep it. So that shit just sound for real, bro. I'm not lying. Like for real, this is a real. Like, I'm not lying though, bro. That's a real story.
These stories just get so ridiculous the more they try to hide things.
Word. But the mosquitoes was bad because it's like marshland over there.
Yeah,
So it
I'm
is.
sure it was, but is that a real reason for them to leave though?
I know. So it's like yeah. So they made it seem in my head right now. They made it seem like it's a theory about them coming over here. Like they got brought over here in chains and shit like that was forced over here. But it really looks as though it was a deal because in that article that I just was telling you about, you had to be a servant to work the lands and stuff like that. Like you had to be the servants worked the land. You had servants, then you had capitalists. So the capitalists that could have been the capitalists who so-called slave masters who fled the land.
Hmm.
Because in that article, there's like you gotta have overseers, and then you gotta have people to work the land. So that's where the 50 acres and a mule came in.
Right.
It was getting the people over here from England, Germany, and then when they settled over here, they settled at they settled at they settled in a place over here called Hardyville, Pewsburg, and then they settled in Ridgeland. They settled all over Carolina, but it's so deep in it when they still got it marked off where they settled at. Like the ones from Scotland, they settled in, I want to say in Port Royal, and the Germans settled in Hardyville. And the Swiss came with the Germans to Hardyville, but the Swiss had moved up to Ridgeland a little bit. And I'm not kidding you, it's called Switzerland.
Wow.
I'm not kidding you, it's called Switzerland right there in Hardyville.
Now, when you mention the Germans, now that is also something that is rather troubling because that reminds me of the Holy Roman Empire, the Habsburgs, and the different Austrian peoples, who were black, by the way. And on the screen, I'm showing them that the Celtic Gauls were a swarthy-skinned people, some of which were our people, but not all of them were, like any other group. Not all of them were of the seed of Jacob. And a lot of these different peoples, they come from the Holy Roman Empire because they fled Europe. Right? Why? Because it was a changing of the guard. Now, a lot of the black rulership, they were getting kicked out, and they fled here to hide. And what they hide under? First, they married our women. They married into tribes. They gained power that way, and then they married white.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want to also finish up on the talk about the Yamasee because I'm kind of running a little bit out of time, so okay. I want to start finishing up. So first, I want to finish on the Yamasee. Then we're gonna talk about the Huguenots a little bit, and then I want to show them a video at the end. So now let me read this about the Yamasee. After the Yamasee migrated to the Carolinas, they began participating in the English colonial Indian slave trade. They raided other tribes to take captives for sale to the English. Captives from other Native American tribes were sold into slavery. Some shipped out to the Caribbean plantations. Their enemies fought back, and slave trading was a large cause of, the Yamasee War. The Yamasee lived in coastal towns in what are now southeast Georgia, Florida, under Spanish colonization as La Florida, and South Carolina. The Yamasee migrated from La Florida, Spanish Florida, to South Carolina in the late 16th century, where they became friendly with Indian colonists. The Yamasee were joined by members of the Guale, a Mississippian culture chiefdom, and their cultures intertwined. Now, what did we just read here? We pretty much just read here that they were helping the Gentiles and enslaving our people, sending us to the Caribbean. They were slave traders in black skin. These are not our brothers. As it seems, right? As it seems.
Right.
And to read one more part, the powerful Yamasee were one of the largest slave trading groups in the Southeast during the 1600s, and having been described as a militaristic slaving society.
Run that back.
Let me run that back. Boom. The powerful Yamasee were one of the largest slave raiding groups in the Southeast during the 1600s, and have been described as a militaristic slaving society after being influenced by the English and the Spanish. Their use of slave raids to assert dominance over their tribes is particularly attributed to the Yamasee aligning with Western cultures in order to maintain their own independence. It was typical of Native Americans to take captives during warfare, particularly young women and children, but the Yamasee sold them to the English. They conducted raids specifically to take captives for sale. So hold on. Who do we
So they
descend
did it
from?
on purposely. Because
Yes, they did.
I know my tribe, we did that too. Like we'll take a few slaves when we go to war, and so that's crazy. But we didn't go on purposely, but we did rob other tribes. But to take captive like that,
They just sold us. Like they, first of all, they were the largest or one of the largest slave raiding tribes, and they sold us to
see,
them.
but then but this is the thing too. We can't even get mad because they're Egyptians also, and but
Who
it's in the
mixed with the Gaul?
Bible.
It is in
It's
it's
in
in
the
the Bible.
Bible.
Yep.
So if they're Egyptians, they're just doing what they know how to do.
Exactly.
For real, you
It's
know what I mean?
that's real.
It sounds like the Egyptians was. It sounds like it sounds like they say picked it up from whoever like that, but no, it sounds like it's something embedded in you. That you seen this when you was a kid. Y'all generation seen this long ago to the point that's just in y'all. Y'all know what to do. Like y'all just know, oh, we gotta snatch a few, gotta hit a few licks on you. Like that's just something like in you.
Right.
That's what it sounds like. And another thing I want to touch on is St. Helena Island, which is in over here in South Carolina. That was the capital of Florida a long time ago when they first came over here and captured it.
Wow.
So Florida ranged from South Carolina all the way down to Florida.
Wow. Wow.
Word.
Interesting stuff, bro. So that gives us a whole new perspective on where these slave raids were truly taking place because they're saying that it was happening in Florida, but where's Florida? Now to continue, because we do have to speed things up along.
Okay.
The Yamasee migrated to the British colony Charlestown in the province of South Carolina in 1686, likely in pursuit of British trading or to escape the Spanish. In Charlestown, some Yamasee tribes looked toward missionaries to educate their children in reading and writing as well as converting them to Christianity. They willingly gave them their children. We didn't want our children getting re educated, but they willingly do it. And it goes to show you the different types of so called black people are on this land. You have the ones who are willingly accepting and loving of the slave master, and you have another who don't want any part of it, who rebel against it constantly. It's very interesting. The English may have had some success in converting the Yamasee and Guale because they had both become familiar with Spanish missionaries and were more open to conversation than other tribes. The Hernando de Soto expedition of 1540. Oh, go
Hold
ahead,
on.
bro. Go ahead. Say what you have to say.
Read that last line. You said they was more open to conversation.
Yeah, they
Read
were
that
more.
last line.
Oh, go. No problem. The English may have had some success in converting the Yamasee and Guale because they both had become familiar with Spanish missionaries and were more open to conversation. Oh, to conversion. Excuse me, than other tribes.
To conversion.
Yeah. You good?
Oh, yeah, that was easier to basically switch over than the other tribes because we knew why the fuck were we down, boy. So they basically knew like they was just easy to converse over. Like, yeah, I'll work with y'all and sell them like that easy.
Well, this is not their land, so they're not going to fight for it. They're invaders just like them. They're just old. They're just older invaders. They're just pre-Columbian invaders.
Before you continue, also, you remember I was telling you about the land, how the Gullah got the land, and they got like the special signs or whatever like that.
Right. Yes, we spoke about at the beginning.
Right. That ties back to what I was telling you about when the Huguenots came over here and they get the 50 acres in the mill.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the connection. That's where I realized, like, well, y'all got some kind of connection there because that's where the time that time area is at. You know what I mean? And Gene Perry wrote this in like 1740s. It wasn't, these times wasn't that long ago. Like they make it seem like, oh, they've been over here a long time, but there's something funny going on. but I know it's a lot of them that came over here and mingled into the Indian tribes. Like I know I probably got some Gullah in my family somewhere. You know what I mean? We all mixed up.
We all mixed up.
We all mixed up. But the thing is to get down to it, because if I could get down to it, I could choose which side I want to rep.
That's what it comes down to, because none of us know. Not all of us can do our genealogy that far back to get even an inkling of who we are. Now, go ahead, bro. Say what you have to say.
No. You got to finish that.
No, finish. Just say what you have to say, and I'll continue.
No, I was just gonna say, basically, like, I know I have Moabite blood in me only because I know I'm the seed of David, and the seed of David, his great grandmother Ruth was, or a great, however you want to put it, his grandmother Ruth was a Moabite. So that blood is in there.
Right. None of us are pure-blooded, bro. There is no such thing.
Yeah, ain't no such thing.
So, the Hernando de Soto expedition of 1540 traveled into Yamasee territory, including the village of Altamaha. Now, we know who Hernando de Soto is. He was a bastard. He hated us with a passion. And he would run on Indian villages and terrorize them. He is the one who cut out children from mothers' wombs and fed them to the dogs. He was the one who pretty much burned us under fire. He would torture us. He did everything, right? This is Hernando de Soto, right? Now let's read a little bit about the relationship that the Yamasee, our quote-unquote black brothers, had with Hernando de Soto. In 1570, Spanish explorers established missions in Yamasee territory. Now, let's look up what missions in this context is. When we click on this word, Spanish missions in Florida. Beginning in the second half of the 16th century, the Kingdom of Spain established a number of missions throughout La Florida in order to convert Native Americans to Christianity, to facilitate control of the area, and to prevent its colonization by other countries, in particular England and France. So, this is what these missions were. And when we go to the Dum Diversus, what does that talk about? To convert all Saracens and pagans to Christianity. This is what they were helping them do. They were helping them conquer the Israelites. That is what the Yamasee were doing. And not only the Yamasee, but the Guale as well, because that's in the next sentence. The Yamasee were later...
It seemed as though the Guale was fleeing, and the Guale just wanted a place to lay their head.
Yeah.
That's what it seemed like with the Guale, but the Yamasee seemed as though they was slave raider.
Well, the Guale, it seems like they were kind of rulers, and when people were pretty much turning against them, they ran to the Yamasee. So I'm not gonna let them off the hook, bro. I can't do that. But let's continue though. The Yamasee were later included in the missions of the Guale province. Starting in 1675, the Yamasee were mentioned regularly on Spanish mission census records, and the missionary provinces of Guale, Central Virginia coast, and Mocama, present-day southeastern Georgia and northeastern Florida. The Yamasee usually did not convert to Christianity and remained somewhat separated from the Catholic Christian Indians of Spanish Florida. And eventually, I'm really running out of time here, so I'm just going to say that the Spaniards pretty much turned on the Yamasee. After they were selling us, the Spanish turned on them. So ain't that something? Now let's touch on the Huguenots real quick. The Huguenots were French Protestants in the 16th and 17th centuries who followed the teachings of the theologian John Calvin. Persecuted by French Catholic government, during a violent period. Huguenots fled the country in the 17th century, creating Huguenot settlements all over Europe, in the United States, and Africa. And moving down, where they settled in America, some Huguenots had immigrated far earlier than the mass movement in the 17th century, but many were met with misfortune. A group of Huguenots traveled to the island of Guanabara Bay in Brazil in 1555, but were later captured and murdered by Portuguese troops. Now, of course, anytime they try to mention, all right, well, they were here early, but they all died. That's the narrative that they try to push, right? Because they're trying to hide a certain people, right? Um, in 1564, Norman Huguenots settled in Florida in an area that is now Jacksonville, but were slaughtered by Spanish troops following an altercation with the French Navy. So now I guess they all died, right? There's no way in hell that they could have fathered a lot of what we know as the Gullah today, right? There's no way, right?
You say there's no way that they could say that again?
There's no way that they could have fathered the Gullah in part today, right? There's no way. They all died, right? According to this article.
That's what I'm saying, bro. the same way that the tribe extinct. Like, stop. See, the reason why it's extinct is because they changed the classification.
Exactly. That's why they're extinct. Because they don't go by the name anymore.
Was extinct. They say, boy, this mom, like, Geechee ain't extinct until I rebirthed it. We back, baby. Yeah, for real, we back, baby.
Let me see, because, so, pretty much what I wanted to end on regarding the Huguenots, we couldn't really touch on them as much as I wanted to. I also wanted to touch real quick on the Fanti people, because the Fanti people were the ones, they were part of these powerful West African groups of the Kasser who were selling these African women away to European men. They were part of these groups. And the Fanti people, they inhabited the Ivory Coast. What do they speak in the Ivory Coast? French. Another connection with these slave masters. Now, who were kicked out of the Holy Roman Empire? These German Huguenots. So, these French people, these German people, these Spanish people, you know, some of us were in these countries over there, but these slave masters, these people who descend from these Melungeons, these Huguenots, and these mixed marriages and things of that sort, these were them. These are the Psalms 83 crew, right? This is just what I'm interpreting of this. They're a mixture of Moab, of Ham, Edom, and a few other peoples. And there's many things that we could touch on with this topic. So, do you have any closing statements before I play the video and then we end up?
No. Just don't believe me. Go and research. That's mainly it. Don't believe nothing I say. Go and research.
Same with me.
I'm telling the truth.
Yep, go see if we're telling the truth. Now, I have a video that I'm going to play here. I'm going to play it loud so that you can hear it. I think you'll find this very interesting.
My ancestors out in this.
If I hold on, let me make sure that it's loud enough so that they can hear it as well.
With me, I still can hear songs like "Stay in the field, oh, stay in the field, stay in the field until the war is ended."
Now, were you able to hear that?
I can hear it a little, yeah.
A little bit. I can't really turn it up. Sorry about that. But she was pretty much saying I could still hear my ancestors singing "Stay in the field until the war is ended," and she's saying she could hear her ancestors. But I'm wondering if are those her ancestors or are those her slaves' ancestors? I'm teasing. But they could be your ancestors because that would definitely match up with what we spoke about with the Kasser. Now, before we continue this video, I do want to bring this point back. I want to bring this point back. African wives could inherit money and schooling for the children they bore to European men. Wives could also inherit slaves and property from their husbands when they returned to Europe or died. Now, what did you say about how long did the Huguenots have to work before they inherited the land that they slaved on?
I want to say it was just 10 years.
10 years. So their family could inherit the slave lands. And where did the Huguenots settle, by the way?
Carolina was a big one. Carolina and Georgia, mainly on this east coast of the Atlantic seaboard.
Okay.
Even down to Florida.
And what was the ethnicity or what country did these Protestant Huguenots come from?
They came all from over England, Rome, and they came from Germany, France, Switzerland, Ireland. They all came over here under one umbrella, which is called Huguenots.
Right. And the language of Creole, it is a mixture of the Native American languages as well as what other language?
Creole, French.
French. Thank you. Now, when we look at the Gullah, what I want to say, what was the point I wanted to say? You know what? Let's just keep watching the video. I just want to hammer the point that in the Kasser, they were able to inherit land once the European men died, right? And these West Africans that they brought over here, they in part were from the Ivory Coast, which were of French-speaking peoples.
It is a connection there somewhere.
So I'm gonna continue the video.
On a quiet chain of islands off the South Carolina and Georgia coast.
This is Saint Helena. I think you mentioned that before, right?
Yeah, Saint Helena.
Okay.
Yeah.
Continuing.
Is an almost forgotten community called the Gullah or Geechee people. More than anywhere else in America, they've held on to traditions their ancestors brought from Africa.
Hold up. More than anyone, they held on to traditions that their ancestors brought from Africa. Now, when we go back to Kasser, let's see what they engaged in. This marriage was not under Christian auspices, although there might been an African ceremony. There were few clergies in equatorial Africa, and the wives could not marry since they had not been baptized. Male monogamy was not expected. As such, concubinage is a more accurate term. So, do these people descend from European men and African concubines who brought their culture over? To continue, early on in the transatlantic slave trade, these marriages were common. The marriages were sometimes performed using African customs, which Europeans did not object to.
See, I want to touch on with that too. See, I know. See, the Gullah, they didn't mix with the Europeans though. They full French, like they're the original French, like they are pure-blooded French, right? That sounds like that's more of the Melungeons who mix. But the thing is, with the Huguenots, the Gullah who came over here when they fled from France, they came over here and fled with some white Huguenots, and that's what I forgot to mention also. And they got a cemetery they got a black side and a white side.
Wow.
Word. A black side and a white side of the cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got this. They got that little short, simple. They sign for the Huguenot is a cross. Also, it's like a cross, a short cross,
Right.
almost like the Knights Templar's cross.
The Knights
Almost.
Templar. I was just about to say that. All right, let's
Yeah.
finish up. Let's finish up because I'm this, listen, everyone giving me dirty looks. I'm in the living room and it's late, so let's continue.
Okay. Okay.
They've stayed on the isolated former plantation land where those ancestors were once enslaved and developed a culture and language known as Gullah. It seems pretty isolated back here.
Oh, see, now that's what we call insulated.
Yeah,
so we feel
insulated.
like we're insulated and kind of kept warmed and keep our culture alive away from the mainland culture. So sure, if you went just across a couple bridges and you ended up on the mainland, you'll hear people speaking like this. And then you come across onto these 100 Yeti, people are cracking teeth like this all day long and things like that. And they say, huh?
Were you able to hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want to mention something that she said because what she said, it was very indicative of the Huguenots. The Huguenots, as well as the Melungeons, they did not marry outside of their groups. They stayed within themselves. And that's exactly what she just said.
Yes, yes. Yes, exactly.
So she's about to say something that's very important because it's going to wrap everything together. Because remember, what did you say about the Huguenots? When were they able to inherit land from their slave masters? After 10 years, right? Of working on their land, right? So let's hear what she has to say about how she inherited this land.
Marquetta Goodwine, also known as Queen Quet, still lives on the land where her great-great-grandfather was enslaved 5 generations ago.
We have okra, we plant peanuts, cantaloupe, watermelon, the same things that my great-great-grandfather planted here. And he was the person that actually obtained this land in 1862. So my family has continuously owned it legally since then, but he was actually enslaved here.
So they obtained this land in 1862 after his forefathers were enslaved on that land.
Right.
They obtained that big, large place after they were enslaved there. Really.
That's the deal. That's the deal of the Huguenots. And they just, and what it seems like to me is though, is like, okay, y'all keep this land and y'all shut up. And those the ones who got the land in the hoods, right? But then the white people got the better lands. So that's why I say it's the deal and that's a tie. And it's something too about with pushing that African theory. Because she's not telling the full truth. I really believe as though they come from it's just too many accounts that they come from Rome, that they come from France, and I really believe as though they've been in France so long, they're the ancient Romans. I really believe that.
They are the ancient. So you mean that they're almost the descendants of almost the Phoenicians, pretty much, because that's who the Gaul were.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Word.
And the Phoenicians were the Romans. They were the original Romans.
Right. And then before the Ashkenazi Jews ruling, it was the Anglo-Saxons. See, the Anglo-Saxons turned into the Ashkenazi Jews. So they basically wanted to rule the world. And they took over Rome. If you look at the timeline, Rome got smaller and smaller. It was getting eaten up by the Anglo-Saxons.
And Anglo-Saxon, it's a reference to Isaac's son, which is Isaac's first son, and we know who Isaac's first son is, right?
Ishmael?
No, Edom.
No. Hold on, I don't. Oh yeah, you right, Isaac. Yeah.
Yeah, Isaac had.
No, Jacob had Edom, didn't it?
No, Jacob is Edom's brother.
Yeah, you right. I'm rusty now.
Yeah, no,
right.
it's all good, bro. It's Abraham,
Damn.
Isaac, Jacob. Well, they're Abraham, Isaac, Edom. So, any last words, bro? Because I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you. Listen, I truly do appreciate you stopping by and you taking the time out of your day to do this with me, man. I really do appreciate it.
Oh yeah, no problem. I appreciate it also. Anything to get the knowledge to the people, and don't believe me and go and study it. Just go and study it.
All right, guys.
And
Go ahead. Go ahead.
thing, I really believe that that lady who you're talking, Queen Quet, she has a 501c3 also. So that's why she can't tell the truth about Gullah and France. She have to push another narrative because she getting paid from the state. The 501c3 is deep. That's all I wanted to say.
You heard it here, folks. Chief Atali, thank you for stopping by. And that's pretty much all I have, guys. I got to get out of here. I hope you guys enjoy. Hopefully, I'm able to upload this by tonight. So, may peace be with you. Selah Kalah.